Every time President Trump opens his mouth or suggests a policy, I think God uses him to reveal something to us about our world. I think Trump might have a unique role in God's history of interaction with human beings. He's not a prophet. I mean, he's smart about some things. He sees things other people don't see. He's not really a watcher at the gate, warning the world about God's justice and what's to befall our nations, and yet he plays that role a little bit. He's a bit of a clarifier, and I think God has used him to tear down the curtain around our so-called public health officials. He's used him to tear down the curtain around the deep state, that it's actually there, and never more so has he done this than in the case of the Mockingbird media. I think God has used President Trump to erase any and all pretense that the Mockingbird media is anything other than participants in public events. It's not news, it's not bias, it's not getting things wrong, it's not trying to twist stories. They are participants in rigging elections and pushing them forward to the degree that they want them to go, to the place they want them to go. They're participants in society in that regard. So President Trump spoke about Alcatraz. And the very predictable media response to this is both fascinating and sometimes correct. It would be incredibly expensive to bring Alcatraz back. We've got a lot of big federal facilities. We've got all these federal office buildings that President Trump has seen fit to sell. Now, many of them are in highly populated areas, so they wouldn't really work as prisons. But they never care about money when it comes to anything else. They never care about something being too expensive or anything else. But on Alcatraz, we can't have that. Well, and then the location, it's so inhumane. And he's only doing this. It's a form of a Roman Colosseum. He wants to give the people a show, perhaps. So here's President Trump talking about Alcatraz.
Where did you get the idea for reopening Alcatraz?
Just an idea I've had, and I guess because the judges, so many of these radicalized judges, they want to have trials for every single, think of it, every single person that's in our country illegally, that came in illegally, that would mean millions of trials, and it's just so ridiculous what's happening. And it's long been a symbol, Alcatraz, of whatever it is. I mean, it's a sad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order. And, it's got quite a history, frankly. So I think we're going to do that, and we're looking at it right now.
I think we're going to do that. We're looking at it right now. Now, one of the things that freaks people out about President Trump, if he's on an airplane and gets this idea, hey, let's reopen Alcatraz. Then he comes and says, hey, let's reopen Alcatraz. And he might have his people come back and go, yeah, Mr. President, it's decrepit. It wouldn't be up to code. We couldn't store people there. I'd make all these changes, and it's maybe not as secure as you think, although it's pretty stinking secure. And I know that because I got to spend the night there once. Way back in the day when I worked in radio in San Francisco, we had a promotion. I got to spend the night there, Alcatraz. I'll tell you about that in a second. But I opened this by saying, whenever President Trump speaks or promotes a policy, it seems that God shows us something else about the Mockingbird media. So I'm reading a ton of reactions today with media members saying, oh, this is just him so he can be further cruel. He can store the black and brown people there. This is his own Guantanamo Bay. And only someone inhumane would think of this. You mean like Whoopi Goldberg? No, I mean that, like Whoopi Goldberg. No, see, always the devil, see, Whoopi, devil, is in the details. The details of our lives in terms of our interactions with food in a food system that has imprisoned us, if you like, into an Alcatraz of grocery stores where you never, ever want to shop anywhere but the outside aisles, and they're even getting hip to that. That's where you get the healthy-like foods. And if you are someone like me committed to eating a good set of quality proteins, in my case, I try to eat about 360 grams of protein a day. That's a huge amount of protein. It means I need to drink a huge amount of water, as in 380 to 400 ounces a day. And yes, that's difficult. And by the way, you got to add pink sea salt when you're doing that. Otherwise, you get overhydrated. Now, when you invest that much money in protein, don't you want to get the most for your money? Masszymes will help you do that, and it will help you fight the bloating that comes along with a diet like that. And if you're doing that, you know what I mean. Masszymes is now 30% stronger, and even prior to this, it produced 1,600 times more amino acids in the bodies of people who took it versus people who didn't. That from a test at Birch International University. So with all the ways we're careful to get quality lean proteins, let's get the most for our money. Go to bioptimizers.com/Todd. Use promo code Todd to get 10% off Masszymes and subscribe to that and all the products you know you're going to need. That way you never run out and you get exclusive discounts only for subscribers. Bioptimizers.com/Todd, promo code Todd. Don't let the devil in the details of your diet get you down. It's bioptimizers.com/Todd, promo code Todd. So people are saying on the Mockingbird media, what kind of cruelty? This is a Roman Colosseum. Trump just wants people up in Roman Colosseums. Well, but what did Whoopi Goldberg say about this? She had a specific use in mind for Alcatraz.
And so I think to make a point, to prove a point, put him in the clink. Oh, why not? Put him in the clink.
That's some good entertainment when she makes noises like that. That's quality. That is quality.
I don't want this to sound like I'm doing wishful thinking.
Yes.
But which prison would be best? I know which one. I'm gonna give you, Michael. Well, that's what I asked. Number one is Rikers. But you know, I'm okay if he goes to Alcatraz and they reopen it.
Just so we're all aware,
you know,
she's reading
what about
these lines.
Guantanamo Bay. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that'd be close to Mar-a-Lago. Melania can come and visit.
That's right. What about Supermax? Supermax would be interesting. El Chapo was in Supermax. He, you know, hey, now he wants to be with the hip people. Come on.
Yeah.
Someone wrote that for her. That's what's phenomenal to me. Someone hands that to Whoopi and she reads it. Is she good at rip and read? I don't think so. It seemed to me obviously she's reading. So it wasn't cruel that, oh, they were just joking. But President Trump's not an MS-13 gang member. President Trump is not Trent D'Agua. President Trump, in all of these cases, was railroaded. You know there's going to be appeal to the E. Jean Carroll case because there was no contemporary evidence. There was none of that from that time. So it's not cruel then. But it's Whoopi Goldberg. It's not someone serious like Brian Stelter. Now, Brian Stelter is a guy who exists within an island of his mind, an island of his society, an Alcatraz of ideas. Far, far, far apart from the real world. Oh, by the way, I was going to tell you about spending the night in Alcatraz. Yeah, it was horrible. So we ran a contest at the radio station that people got to go win a night at Alcatraz. Now the listeners, they got a fine meal on the way to Alcatraz on the boat. They got to take snacks. They had nice bedding from a bedding sponsor in their cells. They got to go in with their significant others. We, little people at the radio station, we got to go, but we had to take our own bedding. I guess we did get to eat on the boat, but we didn't get to take fancy snacks, to take our own snacks in. And they got to get out of their cells and go to the bathroom. And just for fun, they locked us in our cells. There was someone there in case there was a fire, but there wasn't going to be because the stinking heat was off. And even in a sleeping bag, it was cold and horrible and weird noises in the walls. Not be a place I'd want to spend in prison or time I'd want to spend in prison in that facility. But then again, maybe that's the point. I think that's the point President Trump is trying to make. And yeah, it's way out there in the bay. And on the way out, you get an idea of, hey, you're not swimming. Not only are those truly shark-infested waters, there's huge ships everywhere, there's waves, and you go down and get in that water at all and feel it, and they let us do that. It's unbelievably cold waters. So no, it's not a place you're going to get out of. Brian Stelter lives in an Alcatraz of ideas. He has this idea that the United States Constitution said something about public broadcasting. Remember that in the First Amendment, where it talked about the freedom of the press is equated with being paid for by government. This is Brian Stelter.
What do we make of this?
I brought props with you
I
today,
love a
Dana.
prop.
I went ahead and read the entire law for you, the 1967 Public Broadcasting Act. There is nothing in this law that gives any president the ability to strip away the funding for PBS and NPR. Congress was really specific back 50 plus years ago. They wanted to create an entity that was free of government control. They wanted to make sure no president could ever pressure PBS or NPR. So this is going to be a legal fight like so many others that we've seen.
And their own headline says this: Trump signs order seeking to end federal funding for PBS and NPR. Seeking to. Well, let's let Brian Stelter continue because he is a constitutional expert, albeit one trapped in an Alcatraz of ideas.
I suspect President Trump probably wants it that way. Look at the statement that we've received this morning from the head of PBS, Paula Kroger. She says this is a blatantly unlawful move overnight by President Trump. She says this is going to hurt people around the country because it threatens our ability to serve the American public with educational programming. The lie at the end is key.
Educational programming, because that's certainly what PBS does. It's not like they teach kids any weird ideas like an orange is an apple if the orange says so. Or that they ignore important stories, say, of course, something about a president's son and this whole rumor that he had this device and it was in this store and there was stuff on it that people weren't supposed to see, but that was all Russian propo. They wouldn't go out and participate in the democracy like that. But then again, they're just media people. It's not like they worked with the president. I mean, they worked around him. It's not like they worked with him on his Alcatraz of, well, dementia. And that's sad. I'm not trying to make fun of it. It's sad. But what's not sad, and it's funny and savage, is the Alcatraz they tried to build around him and around our ability to see him. This lady worked in government and for media basically at the same time. Jen Psaki had already agreed to her employment with MSNBC, had already come to terms with them, while she still worked in the White House as a spokesperson for the people who ran Joe Biden. And here she is in her Alcatraz of ideas. She wants us to join her in talking about Biden's dementia.
I left in May of 2022, just for the facts here. And I have seen Biden once since then, when I took my daughter to the holiday party this last December after he had lost. And so I hadn't seen him in person during that period of time. I never saw that person, not a single time. And I was in the Oval Office every day that was on that debate stage. I'm not a doctor. Aging happens quite quickly. Were things that people saw during that period of time that were similar to that or would have been in a category of that? I don't know, possibly, right? And all these books are going to tell us.
Like, do you think that were they actively covering it up? Were they sort of in denial, or was that just a bad debate? Like, what is your read on that?
Well, this is what I mean about cover up is a very loaded term, I think.
Well, it means you knew that it was really bad and you're pretending otherwise versus you're deluding yourself, which I think is what people do a lot.
Well, I understand, but I still think it's like cover up is often like a crime, right? We're talking when people use that term.
They say it's worse than the crime.
People use that term as they relate to Watergate or the covering up of not sharing public information about a war.
Yeah, and I'm not.
How many of the figureheads' executive orders were auto-penned? A majority. How many did he actually know were auto-penned in his name? Forged in his name. That would be a crime. Forging a name on a contract is a crime. Wouldn't forging a name on an executive order also be a crime if Biden didn't know? But then again, he wouldn't know that he didn't know. And if you asked him today, he might not remember he was president. So Jen Psaki gets to say this, but we could go back, I guess, easily enough and pull footage of Jen Psaki countering claims. Oh, you're here to say the president's too old. The president's age has never been an issue. Presidents have been old before. We could go back to her confronting them on MSNBC. Oh, these are deep fakes. We could go back to her participation in this, hoping to store us in her little Alcatraz of ideas. President Trump has become very, very, very good at taking a factual boat, a fact boat, not a lifeboat, but a fact boat or an opinion boat into the waters of the Mockingbird media to attack their personal Alcatraz. Kristen Welker decided to sit down across from him and open herself up to a very, very easy question where President Trump effectively says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
What do you say to those who believe you are taking the country down an authoritarian path?
Well, there you go again. Why don't you ask it a different way? Many people wanted to come into our country. Many people love Trump. I won the election. They didn't win the election. I got a lot more votes than they did. I won the popular vote. I won all 7 swing states by a lot. A lot of people were surprised. I said, I think he could win 4, maybe 5. No, I won all 7, and I won by a lot. And I won, actually, I think there was a lot of hanky-panky going on, but it was too big to rig. That's the good news. It's too big to rig. But let me just say, so when you make these statements about people say this, people, Well, you know, they had their chance at the election and they lost big. So you should ask the question differently. You should say, what about the people that want to be in this country? What about the people that love this country?
But what do you say? I'm asking it on behalf of those people to give you a chance to respond to them. What do you say to those people, sir?
Those people are going to be very happy. They're going to have to see some results. And I think we had a great 100 days. There are a lot of people that say it was unprecedented. It was an absolutely unprecedented 100 days. And I hope that they're going to be right.
I suggest this when you're attacking someone's Alcatraz of ideas. Kristen, did you ask anyone who worked for figurehead Biden why he had the authority to force people through medical procedures, why he had the authority to force people to purchase electric cars, why he had the authority to force people who never went to college to pay off the student loan debts of people who were MBAs out of Harvard? Would you ever ask him why he had the authority to fly across our border secretly hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants, placing them into cities where the own governors of those states didn't know? Did you ever ask him why he had the authority to go to parents and say, you will pretend your kids are something biologically that they're not? That's authoritarianism. I think that would have been a better answer.